Hello explorers and welcome to this stream. We had a little bit of a strange start here. I actually got this up and working. I had some stream music going, and for some reason the YouTube algorithm decided that my stream music was not allowed, so that stream got deleted. And actually, I'm paying a subscription for that music, so I should be able to use that music. But I will look that up and see if it's not available for live streams. But I thought that was a little bit strange. I hope that you are doing good today. This is just a stream where I'm gonna do some coding and I'm gonna do some chatting and answering some questions if you have any. So if you have joined the stream and have any questions, just jump in and answer them. I have stream content for a couple of streams, so I'm not gonna be done with anything today coding wise. So I'm just gonna do things, and if I see that you are jumping in with anything, I will cut to that, because that's more important, that I'm here for you and finding solutions to any problems that you have or any questions that you have. Let's see here. As I can't actually stream any music, I will put on some background music for myself just to have something. I like to code with some music. So how do you like to code? Do you like to have music when you're coding, or do you like when it's quiet around you when coding? We are all different there. The first thing that I wanted to show was actually a thing that I got in one of my very old videos. I got a question from one of my viewers, or one of the many explorers out there, from a guy called Hafiz Saron Rashid. And he asked, how can I actually use my Android Studio and connect this extension library? And the interesting part there is, I think that extension library has actually been removed recently or sometime because I can't find it on GitHub. So if we jump over here, you can see that all the repositories that is on GitHub here, there is a lot of Android repositories, but before, I'm pretty sure that I found one called APKX or something like that, and that was used in Android Studio to use this extension library, but I can't really find it now, so that's a bit weird. But I'm not sure. I might have it on disk, so we might try that anyway. So let's see here. If you have that, then if you want to import that module, because the problem was that when he imported that module, he got the error message that he didn't have that module selected, so he couldn't import that module. So let's see here. We have import settings. I think it's new import project. So let's see here. We have the marketing licensing library. We have Google Play services, and then we have this market expansion APK. But in my video, I actually said that you shouldn't use that one because it doesn't really work. Perhaps they have updated the API since then, so you can actually download it from Google Play or from the Android store. So what I used, if you see here, move down to my GitHub directory. I think there was something called APKX expansion file test. There is the APX library, yeah. So that was what I added to my... I thought that I had it checked out in my Android repository as well. Yeah, so that's a bit weird that it doesn't really seems to be on GitHub anymore, and this repository is hard to find, I guess. So that video might not be helping anymore. That might be the problem. So let's see here if the thing that is shipped with Android Studio is updated recently. So let's see here. We have the licensing and we have the APK expansion library, and just version 1. And I don't think there is any other version than version 1. And that was the one that I didn't get to work. So that's a little bit sad. Let's see if we can import that anyway. So let's see here, import module. So then we should go to this Android SDK. Let's see here. It should be under... should be a plugins directory, extras, Google. There we have that repository, download library, and sample. So that might be the thing that you want to use then. See if that goes. No, that source directory does not work. And I guess that doesn't work either. No. Yeah, I think they need to document that better. I don't really find that useful. Yeah, so let's continue with my current project here, stuff to buy. And what I added to this project recently is this delete button. And I also thought about adding some other buttons here and more GUI to actually get that to work. Let's open up my editor here. So because of all the stream difficulties today, but as we haven't streamed with music before, that might be to be expected. Let's close all of these. Let's see if we can move that over. And let's see here, stuff to buy. So where were we? We were trying to implement this delete function. So we have the delete button. I believe that we also implemented JavaScript for the delete. There we have it, delete article. So we have a function for it. So what we need to figure out now is how to actually delete a thing from the local storage. So if you remember, if we look in this application here, we have a local storage, an indexdb in the local storage, and it has articles, and there we have the article that I use at the moment. I wonder if this actually has any key. We have article ID 0. So if I add another article here, let's just take something else here. I think that's a different article. It looked very similar. Do that get a different ID? So what do we have here? That's 1 and that's 0. If we look into here we have the keys 3 and 4. That's the key. And then we have a 1 to 0 index here. Let's see. Delete from indexdb. So here we have the API for that. So we need an object store and then a key. So I wonder if that key is the key in the record, or if it must be that, right? It can't be just the key of the result, right? So let's see here. Where do I set that delete ID? It's article ID and it's just I, so that's just an integer iterating over these. That's no good. How do we get the keys from our object store? Do we have any? We have get all. That's something. We have delete index. That might be a better choice. But that means that if we delete an index, we also need to... No, that's not what we are. This is an index for finding things faster, right? So that won't work for us. So if we get all from an object store, get all, we get a request, and that gets an event with the result, and there is some articles in that result. Let's see what the articles actually contains, if we have that key in there anywhere. Let's see here. Did we get that output here? We should have seen. Yeah, might be that we need to... let's see here. Performance, we have application, service worker, offline. Yeah, we can say bypass for network. Let's see if it's the service worker. Yeah, the service worker did actually not help us there. So let's see here. We only get the data back, and then we have the index of 1 and 0 and 1. So it's just a simple array. So get all keys. That means that we get all the keys. And the get, that gets something with a key. Okay. So perhaps we need to refactor this a bit, adding a function to get all the keys instead, and then get each of the results. So get all keys, and that will give us an event with a result. So I think I will do something, see here. Okay, so we have something that creates different dividers depending on where we are. So that's a functionality that we need to change a little bit later on. Let's see here. We do a function, update GUI for article. Let's do that. And then we take all this code that we have down here, perhaps just this code. It's more reasonable. So then we need this article. So that's the part up here. Article. update all these. So now we need to give that an article, and we can also give it an article ID. And that article ID is something that we use down here. So now we have some functionality here that we can use, and the article list is something that we have in the global scope so that we can reuse. And here we have this divider that we will add if it's not the first one. So that's fine. So let's see here. If we do that, we will log all the articles. So now we will get the result for get all keys. Let's see what that gives us. We got 11 and 12. So let's see in application here. It says keys. Yeah, so 11 and 12. So we actually have keys 11 and 12. So now we have the correct keys. So that's good. Now we only need to get each item of that list. So then we need to use this function down here. Get just that, and then we will do articles and get that specific key. Request item, and then we will do another one of these, and on the success of that we will take the result and put that into our update GUI for article. Let's see if that is something that will work for us, because then we should have refactored this functionality a little bit and perhaps get a bit better. Let's see here. That didn't seem to work. Let's see. We got an error here. Item is not defined in GUI. So that is on line 279. That doesn't seem reasonable. Let's see here. GUI, update GUI for article. Item is not defined. Okay, so item here, and it's something that we actually created for each successive function. Yeah, so let's do like that. Remove item and A here, and put them inside here. But that is a template, so perhaps we want that item to be there anyway. And then we need to add the template up here. So let's do that as the first parameter, like that. So we can reuse the template for each article. See if that works for us. Yeah. So now we have those. Don't see the actual extra divider here. Do we have a divider, or did that not work? We have a divider before everything, and then we have our items. So this does not work. Why doesn't it work? Now that's a problem. Because this is not synchronous code. So we can't do like this. If we do a wait there, guess that will not work either. No. Now this is interesting. I wonder how we can solve this. If you have any suggestions, then all ears. So we have something that updates an article, and we want it to, perhaps we can just move this thing up here and then give each of them just an iterator up here, and then we will solve that problem nice and tidy. Guess there is a much cleaner solution for that, but this works. And I see here that we have a max height but not a max width. So we have a max width but not a max height on our images, or do we? Image item max height button with, where is our graphic? The graphic doesn't have a max height, just have max height. Let's say that it should be max. We need some padding as well, so let's say 60 pixels. No. If we say height 60 pixels, what happens then? That doesn't work either. So what's this element actually called? It's the graphic. It has a width 50. So let's see here. Is that something that we set in the page? Yeah, so we set an image width here. So that's not okay. So in the style, we need to take this and add image, and then we say max height 60 pixels, perhaps. Might work. Yeah. So there we have it. Max height 60 pixels and max width 50 pixels. Just so we have some constraints for the actual image, so it will be contained within this layout. So that looks nice. Solve that one. Let's see here if we can configure this. There is a lot of things to set up when you have things. Why does it in it? There we go. Let's turn that on. Now we have a bit more control over here. So now we should have the correct. We have undefined over here. That's not good. Let's go back here. How did we end up with undefined? We have an article ID, it's that one. So that should be carried over from this array here. And it is used in order to get our content here. So let's see, we have things that is in this success, but we don't use anything from here, right? Except for the article list that we used earlier. And that's defined in the global scope. So why isn't it allowed to be? If we do a const article ID over here, can that be reused within our method then? Tidy this up a bit. This is more readable anyway, so I think that's an improvement. Let's see here. Now it's not undefined. Now we have an article ID that's 29. If we update here, we have 29 as well. So now we have the correct key. So let's go back to the documentation here. So now we should be able to delete something with a key. It's interesting that people that haven't talked for literally ages starts talking when you live stream. So let's see here, delete, and we get a request back. So what's this request object all about? Let's see here, delete. What does the example say? Bear in mind that you are using an IDB cursor. You can use the cursor delete, okay? Walk the dog store request on success. Yeah, so we can say that everything was a-okay. And I think we will use that just to remove this line. Then we need an ID on that line as well in order to make it disappear. So let's go down here. We have an article ID here that we want to remove. So that's something that we already have. We should have, when we add this element here, we are creating a new node from an item. Let's take this and add an ID to that. Article, and then give it just article ID there. So that should be a good ID to use down here. Document get element by ID article. Did we say article ID or article? Yeah. And then we add this article ID here. So only on success we will remove it. So that should be a good option here. So if we remove that, what did it actually say here? object store is not defined. Of course it's not, because we haven't we haven't created object store yet. So let's do that here. Remove object request. Object store request. Strange. Why not use a more descriptive name for things? So there we go. Let's see here. 33. It did not do any fetch or anything like that. But it didn't really delete it either. Strange. So let's see here. Let's do a console log on that. Wait a minute, we might be required to do the same thing we did here. Remove our ID. Pick this one and push it there and push it there. Let's see. And we got an ID here, so it has actually done the thing. So that's good, or at least it says that it's. And here we have article 35 as well. And I see here that we have two dividers. So that clearly didn't work either. Do we have the same issue here? Let's say const row ID. Put that in here. So now we have those things going through. So why didn't I find... Where I delete here? Why didn't I find... Oh my god, we have just found the element here, hopefully. Removed element. There we have it. And then we do remove element style display none. That should hide that one. So let's try that out. Yeah. So now it was removed. The hard part is just that it was not removed in the actual object store, because I can clearly see it over there. So why doesn't that work? The API clearly says delete. Data may be stale. No, it's not stale. It's these two items. Clearly. Now it's stale. Is there a something that you need to do in order to submit the delete or something like that. Just says delete data. So what's this for about? Transaction read write. That I have. Articles, object store articles. Very strange indeed. These APIs. Not the best APIs in the world, I might say. So we can have a DOM exception of some kind. That would be a catch. So let's see if we can. We have a function success. So let's see, do we have any on failure or something like that? Object store I am init, what's called index db example delete. Index store delete does not work properly. See if transaction read write object store delete item ID. Okay. Do we have a different key path? Have we created this with another key perhaps? Let's see here, articles, clear. Let's see, key, all keys. No. So I haven't actually given it a key to use in this. Because that's something that you can do as well. Give it a key. We have an open here, indexdb open for a request. So let's see if we can find any documentation for the open command here. Let's close that one down. What does this number at the end actually say? Do we actually have any input on that? Might be that we have opened it in a wrong state, perhaps. So I guess here should be the open command. No. What do we open then? Window indexdb open. So is it a DB factory that has the open? Yeah. People love their factory. We're using the version, okay. This version is to open the database with. If a version is not provided, the database, and the database exists, and the connection to the database will be opened without changing its version. If the version is not provided and the database does not exist, that will be created with version 1. Okay. So is it just a version of my current DB? So if I do some updates, I do an extra version add in order to give the DB a new layout, for instance? Because here you see that they open it with version 4. Let us open version 4 of our database. Yeah. But we see here that we have an on error event. So perhaps we can use that. Do we have that on object store delete as well? It doesn't really say, right? See if we can get anything clearer from here. Delete. And it throws an exception if something is wrong. We haven't seen any exceptions. If the store has been deleted, we throw an exception. If the transaction is not active, we throw an exception. If the transaction is read-only, we throw an exception. If the range result running steps to convert a value into key range, the query a null disallowed flag set. So let's see what the actual result set is for this request. Maybe we can get some information there. Because we have an event here, so the event should have some kind of result, right? Let's debug it this way. So do that. We get an event that totally says success. And target on success. So here we have articles, index names, transaction, read write, object store, DB, articles length 1. So why doesn't it actually remove our item then? If we clear that out, we load this, we see that we load some data. We clear that, we delete, we don't have any load. Still haven't removed the item from our item store. Can't really save the item store anyway because the item store has not updated with the correct information because we haven't removed the items yet. So why doesn't this work? it really seems like we are doing the right thing. We are using the store, we are removing a specific article ID. Let's just for fun delete number 0. What happens then? It doesn't delete anything then either. We have the right article ID here. Let's log it again. '51. It's 51 that we're trying to delete. Frustrating. Well, this is the kind of things that are fun in programming. You never know where you get stuck on anything. And it always seems to be the most basic thing that just doesn't work for some odd reason. Really would like to know why. This should work, right? We are using the object store to do the actual delete now, but perhaps that's the wrong approach. Perhaps it's something like the transaction that should be doing the delete, perhaps? So what do we have on the transaction then? No, we have a commit, abort, and so on. So we have a transaction here that we have done a delete on. Perhaps we need to do a commit on that. I don't know. That doesn't really seem to do anything. So we do an object store, we get the correct store. So object store. We have some key paths and so on. Yeah, perhaps we can read the key part of the object store. What does that say? It says null. Okay. Didn't really give us any extra data. If the key path of the store is attribute null, the application must provide a key for each modification operation. So Is it when we create the key store that we set the key? When do we set the actual key? IMDb, no, indexdb set key path. My indexed key path. Let's see here. Key path. Key path. Create object store. Key path email. Okay. Perhaps we can just do like that and add an ID. That should be pretty fine, right? Shouldn't really do any harm. So let's see here, open that, create object store. We have an auto increment here, true. Let's call that key path ID. Perhaps that will solve our problems. Let's see what happens if we do that. So if we look here, do we have any extra data in these objects over here? No. Doesn't really seem like we have any extra data on that. Let's see if we clear this and then restore. Let's see what happens then. We still don't have any extra information here of an ID, but we clearly have a key path now, right? So if I do a delete, it should say, no, it still says null. Let's see if we can. Let's see here. Delete database. Now we don't have any database there. So now it actually created a new database. Did we get... Now we got an ID in there. Now that's interesting. If we reload this page, what happens then? We get new IDs here. Perhaps that can help us here. If we do a delete now, that does nothing. Let's see here. Delete. Delete primary key. To delete data, call delete method on the object store. Once again, this method returns a promise and must be wrapped in a transaction. Here's a simple example. Yeah. this code is very different, I must say. But it's then again, it's Google's own little. So if we have the same down here for get all, and we know that that works, then why doesn't this work? And it returns transaction complete. Perhaps we can look at the transaction on complete. Do we have any of those events complete? Transaction on complete event. Transaction has completed. Let's see here. Delete, 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 delete. Delete. So when we've done this, we can look at this transaction. Perhaps we can use the on complete instead. Function. Something like that. And we should see a transaction complete when the delete has happened. We see that, but we still haven't removed. Thank you, Furkan. More power to you. Yeah. I'm not really sure if that helps. I need to figure out what to do here. It's a little bit annoying. Why doesn't this work? It seems so easy. It's just an ID that you should use in order to delete something. You should just say, I want to delete number 5, and it should just be removed. I'm not sure why this should be so hard. Everything seems right. The sad part is that you can remove all of it and rebuild it. That's an option. But that's a very ugly one. So I could take the current state and then implement something in the save function that actually removes items. And when that's done, I will load again. So that's a way to get around this issue. That means that this will not work offline. Then again, with this ID that I built in, it will not work offline anyway because it will save data on disk. Now, so perhaps I make a more of an issue of this than it actually is. But I would love to understand why this doesn't work. Because if I write 6 here, it knows about the concept of a key. It's just this delete function that is a sad excuse for a bad implementation. So does this transaction thing give us any deeper knowledge to what's actually going on here? Delete article, there we have it. Let's type out this event. Let's see. Delete an article. Transaction was completed. We have an event here on completed. Target. I just thought if there were some result that you could look into. Yeah, let's do another Google for that. Indexdb delete does not work. Let's see here. We have an on error for that on that request as well. Non-deleting behavior on success event fire despite states key parameter can be of any type. I solved it by forcing the parameter conversion to a number. Could that be something stupid like that? That would be so ridiculous. It's even plausible. So there we have it. Let's go here. Oh, so stupid. Well, we solved something. So now we can remove items. And because we haven't removed them on the server, they will reappear again, but that's fine. So let's just remove that logic, remove that logic. So now, as we have an ID here, and it's auto-incremented, I wonder if do we save that ID when we save a list? We do save, we post all the articles as they are. That means that we should have an article file here. And if we go over to the code online, perhaps see if they can handle this blob things. Does this contain any ID URL? Don't see any ID in this data. Isn't that a bit strange? Perhaps if we do like this, load it again, so we will get a new ID. So so there we have it. Now we have a new ID. We should have a new file on disk. Where did that go? We have the data here. Let's add something more here. We have this pink kitchen aid. Sounds like a great thing. Yeah. So now we should have 3 items. And there we have a file on disk as well. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, we have an ID here. So ID 13. Does that mean that we keep the ID? We do. So now we actually have the working ID going back and forth. So we can reuse that concept in our database. One thing I could do is actually update the version now, because it doesn't really follow the right convention if we don't do that. And if I should load this to my server, it should actually have a new version. So let's do that, so I don't forget that. And let's do version 3 now. Yay! We have another version going out. So now that we have done that, we need a way to delete articles on disk. And I think the easiest way of doing that is running a save after we've done a delete. So save list. We run that there. It should mean that did we get any errors here? Why didn't... okay. So on upgrade needed, we have a function for that, but it says that an object store with a specific name already exists on create object store on the object upgrade needed path. So isn't that the point? Or is it just me? I don't get it. Yeah, it's not that widely used, so let's just keep it and try to figure out what's going on there some other time. So now we have loaded this. If I remove the first wild side jar thing, that means we should have a network request going out, saving data, and we should have fewer things saved. So now we only have 2 items. We have a delete function. So this seems much more useful now, as we can add items, we can remove items. Another thing that I thought that I perhaps add to this is some kind of button to do the actual adding, because now we have an press enter for adding a new URL, and that's not the best way to solve this, especially because people might miss that text when it's small. So perhaps we need some way to highlight that you can also add by doing that. And I also want to test if I'm not using the mouse here. So let's go here and we go to blenders. Let's see if we can pick another one. Very strange order this goes in. So we do this flex ball here, load that. Can we load it in Amazon? That's the so if we take that URL, we go back to my application, paste that in and press enter. Yeah, so it works using all the keywords. So we haven't lost the accessibility of that field. I rebuilt this field using one of my components for the visual effect. So it looks a little bit like material design, but not fully, because I don't have that effect on the line. It's just the simple effect of raising the label and making you able to write something in there. So let's see if we can add a button as well. I think that's one thing that we can do today, and then I think I'm pretty satisfied with this solution here. So let's the first part of the solution, there is much more things we can do, of course. So let's see here, we have a button with an ID of add item, perhaps. Yeah. And then we just give it some text here, say add. So there we have our button. And I'm not sure how this text field box is styled. Does it say anything about being full width? Yeah, we have a full width here on our input field. So if we do 90% instead of that. No. So it's not that pushes this out. So let's see here. There we have a text box. Let's see if we can find where it actually pushes out. I thought it were something like the width, but it doesn't really seem like that. And the label doesn't really have anything pushing either. And then we have the main content. If we just say that this should float right, it goes over there. That doesn't really help. if we say that this full width should have display flex, then we can push it up there. That's better. And let's say that this should have a margin of margin left of 10 pixels. So now we have a little bit of a break there. It's a bit different. Let's see here. We have the full width. And I don't really want to give that flex. So let's do display flex. We can do a flex row. Flex direction row. And then give that to the element here. This full width. So it should be a flex row as well. There we go. And then we have this add item. Do that up here. Add item. And that should have a margin left 10 pixels. And then let's see here. We have some gradient up here with some color. Let's pick one of those. Background color that. And then color white perhaps. Let's see how that looks. And the border is off, so border 0, border radius 10 pixels perhaps. That looks a little bit like a button, but I think we need a padding, and then top and bottom doesn't really need any padding, but I think we need some padding on the sides. Perhaps even more. That looks a little bit more like a button. I think also we need to use the same font family here. Nope, not that one. Do we have any other fonts used here? Yeah, we can do... And we have at least the same. We can do a font weight of 600 perhaps. It's a bit bolder. Yeah. I'm not sure if that color is the right one. Let's do... I have this tool here where I can pick a color. So that's the color. So yeah, material, color palette. So let's see here. We have the purples. Colors. Purples. Then we had the number 6A. So this is one of the colors. And I wanted it to be a brighter one. So perhaps 600 should be something I can use. Let's try that instead. So we get it a bit brighter. Yeah, that seems more in line with... What color do we have on the label there? That's interesting. Label. we use that color on the label. Perhaps we can reuse that one. Seems like a reasonable choice. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to keep this highlight so you know where you are on the page at all times. Then again, I think this is really nice. Oh, hi. Hello, Sai. Welcome. Nice to see you. Let's see here. So we have the add button. Let's just put some functionality behind that one as well. Let's go back to the editor here. Let's see, we have add item, and in this JavaScript here, we should have somewhere where we pick all the different things that we want to work with. Perhaps we only have an article list actually. So documents, get element by ID, the add item, and this add item should do pretty much the same thing that we do when we find a text field, when we do a key up. So we need to do a load URL on that event. So that's no good. So this load event takes a target value of the URI. So that's good. But this add item function, we need to do, okay, so we have function here that runs at the end. Add event listener, click, and then we do with an event. So now we have a click listener, and what we want to do is pretty much the same here. We want to do this load URL, but we can't have the load URL using events as the trigger. We actually need to use the value. So this should be URL, just call it URL. It's much easier, URL. And then we have the URL here. Oh, I want to remove it after a while, of course. Yeah, so I need the target. And then we can say input box here, input box. So the problem I had was down here where I wanted to reset the value. So I actually needed to have the connection to the box left, or else I wouldn't be able to do that. So that's why I need to keep that connection. So input box here, input box here, but I can still reuse this without having the actual event. So down here I will do e target. So then I will have that specific target that I want to reuse there. And down here I need to figure out how to get the actual text box element. And we have this here. It actually finds that element for us. So the input element is that. That should work in theory. Famous last words. So let's see here. What's this? Let's take some kitchen power. Pick that one and add. What happened? We added it. Yay, it worked. Nice. So now we have a function that we can add items, we can remove items from the list. And it's both saved in the actual application, and if we reload, it's also saved on disk. So I can take this URL here, close this window, push that URL in, add it, and it should get the same items. Why didn't it keep the CSS though? Could that be an issue with the service worker? Yeah. So it's a service worker issue. So when you're working with service workers, you need to stop and unregister them and reload in order to get all the functionality out there. It's not a problem in a real site, because there you have all the functionality of a service worker built in, and it will re-register and update as you go along, and you will not push code that is not ready for prime time. But when you are working with it, this button here, bypass for network, is really nice, because then you will not get cached values from the service worker while working. Yeah, so I'm pretty satisfied with this. I wonder, now this got a specific length. So I wonder if that's independent on, yeah, so it works if we make it smaller. So this is the when we go down to the size of a mobile phone, perhaps not that small. Let's do pixel 2x. And there we also need to do the how do I go to that? Yeah, here. Go back to the application, bypass for network. So we see here that we actually have some issues with both text and yeah, mainly with text when we go down to smaller devices. And I think I had some clause here for device. Yeah, this media screen max width. Where I changed the size of things. Perhaps I need to make this 15 points perhaps. And the, let's see, here we have this one. The text field, the input box, and the label has a font size of 16. I think that label should be 10. And then when we have a larger size up here, we can say that it should be 16. So we do make it larger when it's larger. So let's go back here. So now we have much smaller text up here for the label. And I think we need to make, wonder if the other text down here, not in focus, it's 12 points. Perhaps we can make that 10 as well, so keep the size there, but in the case up here we can have that. So there we just push it up. We don't make it smaller. It's keeping its ratio. And if we go to responsive and make this much larger, reload, we have a different text here which is much larger. And still that button, it keeps changing on me. Annoying. So let's go down here, reload. This is still an issue. So what's the text here? It's in a span. So I guess this is the standard text size that we have. What's that? We have a paragraph text size of 1 rem on the large devices, 15 on the small. But now we are using not paragraphs, we are using li. There are no paragraphs here, so perhaps we can change this one to an li, and this one to an li as well. And we get a large text, okay? Not suited for that device. So this is more correct, but this is too large. So we have, for large, we have 15. We have 1 rem up here, then we have 15 points down here. Let's make that 10 to start with. That works. So we make it a little bit larger when it's full screen. Not much, but a little bit. So that's readable on a small device as well. That seems to work. Yeah. Well, hi, Yash, if that's the correct pronunciation. I'm not really sure, but hi, welcome. So now I have been streaming for 1.5 hours almost, or perhaps at least. And I said that I should stream for at least 1 hour. I had some technical issues in the beginning, so I think this is a good stream length. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm happy with the things that we accomplished today. We were able to create some new elements here. We were able to create some more functionality. It actually does the things that I was wanted to create. And didn't get that many questions today. I tried to answer one in the beginning of the stream. If you are joining the stream next time or whenever, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat and I'm trying to elaborate on those. This is a time where I'm trying to socialize with the community and help you out with whatever questions you might have or thoughts, or perhaps you have suggestions on further episodes that I should look into, create a video about something specific. Yeah, but I think I will end the stream today here. I really hope that you learned something. I hope that you found this stream interesting. If you are still here and liked it, give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues. If you're new to the channel, you're very welcome to subscribe, so you will see these streams coming up, so you can be a part of them. And by that, I wish you a really good evening, if it's evening on your end, or if it's morning, a really good day. And I hope to see you in the next stream or video. Bye!